Hello, in today's training we are going to talk about how to set up your ORCID profile and connect it to your NIH application. This is a requirement for all NIH applications following NSPM 33. One thing that's a little bit tricky about the NIH is you actually have to link it to your accounts twice, once to your ERA Commons account as well as once to your SciENcv account. We'll go through how to do both of those today. But first, what is ORCID? Have you ever wondered if John Smith at University A is the same John Smith who was at University B a few years ago and published that really interesting paper? ORCID is the solution to this. It's a unique identifier that keeps track of your research outputs, and importantly, unlike your university email, it stays the same even if you change institutions and actually even if you change your name as well. It's also now required on all federal research grant biosketches. So whether you're applying for NIH, NSF, Department of Energy, NASA, all of them require your ORCID ID. So it's really a good idea to take the time to set it up. And since SciENcv can pull data from ORCID for your biosketch, it's also a good idea to take the time to get your data in there correctly. So we're going to actually start with that today. Here's the ORCID ID sign-in page. I'm going to assume you have an ID already, as I think most faculty do. If you don't, you'll need to register using the Register Now link. But importantly, because ORCID is a persistent identifier, you should only ever have one ORCID account. If you set one up previously but no longer have access to it or the email it's associated with, do not set a new one up. Reach out to them about recovering your account. This is like trying to get a second social security number. It will cause all sorts of problems, trust me. Okay, so once you have your ORCID ID, you can set it up to log in through JMU single sign-on, and that's what I'm actually going to do now. Okay, so this is my ORCID ID profile. Unlike the social security number, your ORCID ID number is pretty much public. In fact, in my field, it's pretty common to submit your ORCID ID number along with other information when you submit a paper for publication. And so in here, there are several sections of information you can fill out. Important ones to fill out include employment and education and qualifications. Professional activities and funding, less important. As you can see, embarrassingly, I've never filled out the funding section. If you want to use ORCID ID for your current and pending other support, you can do that. The key one to fill out, in my opinion, is this works, okay? And so this should have your publications and other research outputs in there. If you need to add something here, the way to do is with this plus button, add, and you can import works from other services. For example, if you have a database for your field that keeps track of your publications, you can add works with a DOI, or if you need to, you can add the works manually where you'll need to put in, say, the publisher and all of that information. Similarly, that same plus button is how you can add funding, professional activities, but also your education and qualifications and your employment. So here's what it looks like to add an additional employment. I would recommend taking a few minutes. You can pause this video just to make sure everything here is correct and up to date. As I said, for the NIH, you're actually going to have to link your ORCID ID to your proposal in two places. The first one is in your ERA Commons. This is something that you only have to do once. So once it's locked to your ERA Commons, it's linked forever, and you won't have to do it the next time you submit an NIH proposal. So when you log into ERA Commons, this is the home page. Assist is where you are preparing your NIH proposal. We are not going to click that right now. Instead, what we are going to click is Personal Profile. Okay. Here is what your personal profile page should look like roughly. Mine probably looks a little bit different because I have some additional roles because of my position here in OSPAS. However, what you want to look at is this box on the left side where it says Personal Profile, and you can see right here, I already have my ORCID ID linked. If you don't have your ORCID ID there should be a link that you can click on. And if you click on that link, it will ask you to log into ORCID. And once you do, your ORCID ID will be linked to ERA Commons. I recommend logging out and logging back in just to check that it's there. Your proposal will not be accepted if you don't have these linked. You can find detailed instructions on how to do this along with screenshots in the ERA Commons online help. So for example, if you do not have your ORCID ID linked, this is what you should see. You should see ORCID ID unavailable along with a link to create or connect your ORCID ID. As I said, when you link there, it should give you the option to go to your, or it should automatically take you to log into your ORCID ID account. And this is what it looks like afterwards. Okay, next we are going to talk about how to link your ORCID ID to your SciENcv account, which is what's used to create the biosketches. So SciENcv is run through the NIH, but it's used for a lot of different agencies. It doesn't matter what login you use. So you can use ERA Commons login, NSF login, or actually if you click this, you'll have more options down here. And you only have one SciENcv account. So even if you're doing an NIH application, if you have NSF login, you can use your NSF login, or vice versa. If you have an ERA Commons account and you're doing it as NSF proposal, it's fine to log into that. Either way will get you to your specific SciENcv account. Okay. So once you've logged into SciENcv, this is what it should look like. You may not have all of this information put in yet. Now, it used to be that under My Profile, your ORCID ID was listed right here, and you could enter your ORCID ID directly from My Profile with this button. They recently changed this, and so that's no longer how you link your ORCID ID to your SciENcv profile. Instead, the way to link it is to come up here to your account, and then account settings. Okay, so this is actually your account settings for NCBI, because as I said, NCBI is the organization, the part of the NIH that runs SciENcv. So here's your email, and then the section that you want to pay attention to here is linked accounts. So you can see that I have my ERA Commons and my NSF linked to this. The key one is ORCID ID. So I actually already have my ORCID ID account linked here. If you don't, you're going to need to add it. So the way to do that is to go to Add Account, and then you'll select ORCID. You can search. I actually think it's not going to show up for me because it is already linked. Yeah, so if you haven't linked it already, if it's not in that list, it should show up in this list, and then you will click on it, and then it will ask you to log into your ORCID account. Once you do that, you should be able to come back here in SciENcv. You may have to log out and log back in, and you will see it here. Okay. I would recommend pausing this video, making sure that it's there, and then once you see that it's there, starting back up. If you're having problems doing this, please reach out to us in the Office of Research Development here at JMU. Okay. I'm going to assume you do that. One other thing I want to flag here is delegates. So if you need someone else to assist you with preparing your biosketch, you have someone who is doing that on your behalf, this is where you can add a delegate, someone who has the authority to prepare your biosketch or other current and pending support documents or similar. You will still have to log in to certify them. Delegates cannot certify their completion and accuracy on your behalf, but this is where you would do that. So I'm going to assume that you have your ORCID account linked, and then to get back to SciENcv, you're going to click up here. Okay, so how do we know if that worked? How do we actually go through and use it? Okay, so what we're going to do then is to go to New Document here, and we're going to put this in. I'm going to assume that we're going to do an NIH biosketch. So you give your document a name, and then you select what type of document you want. There are all sorts of different options here: DOE, NIH, NSF, USDA currently. But what we are going to select here is the NIH Biosketch Common Form. The NIH is rolling out these common forms, and they are mandatory. For now, there's a grace period with using the old one. I would strongly recommend using the common form. And now let's leverage the work that we've actually done in setting up our ORCID ID by selecting an external force, and then we're going to take our ORCID ID and click Create. It sometimes takes a few minutes to create your new biosketch. That's perfectly normal. So what we can do here is, this is our biosketch. Anything with a red exclamation point means that it needs adjustments. Okay. And so even though it draws from ORCID ID, sometimes things don't quite come over right. Here it looks like the problem is the position title. Okay, so I'm going to fix this. So it needs my position title and my current institution. So JMU, Harrisonburg in United States, Virginia. And start date, and save. And now you can see that that little red circle with the exclamation point is gone. My professional preparation came in directly from ORCID. Everything looks fine there. Appointments and positions came in direct from ORCID. Everything looks fine there. And then here's the products. Okay. And so this is where I'm going to want to use the works that I put into ORCID. So I'm going to select, and here, don't panic if it immediately says nothing here. What you're going to do is click your ORCID tab, and now all of the research works that you put into ORCID should be present. And you can just click the checkboxes, and then they go in here. Okay. The NIH has this biographical sketch supplement, okay, where it requires also personal statement, honors, contributions to science. All of that is done here. And once that's done, then you have the certification bit. Like I said, this is something that cannot be done by a delegate if you've delegated it. So once all of the required sections are done, you'll have a button here to download PDF. When you download that PDF, it'll let you know that you are certifying this text, that the information is current, accurate, and complete, that you do not participate in a malign foreign talent recruitment program, has to be within the last 12 months. Okay, so this is how we go about using ORCID to make an NIH biosketch, and when you download it, you'll see your ORCID ID is on there. Okay, in fact, we can check that up here. You can see that my persistent identifier here is my ORCID number. Okay. What else can you do in SciENcv for an NIH application? In addition to the biosketch, you can also use it to do current and pending other support. And here you do not currently have the option to draw data from ORCID, which is why I've left my funding incomplete there. There is a work in progress to change that. So you can create your CPOS form, and again, you can put in information here, current and acting projects, and then you have the same certification. So SciENcv is typically used for those two documents, the biosketch and the current and pending other support. And this is important to be linked to your ORCID ID. If you have any questions about this or run into problems, please don't hesitate to reach out to us here in the Office of Research Development. Thank you.